it's one of the regions, I guess, like Africa for many Europeans, you tend to have a kind of negative picture. Is this a just picture? Is this a true picture, or is it completely just prejudice?
I don't think it's completely prejudice, but I don't think it is a full picture. Jamaicans are known for their talents all over the world, as sports people, as intellectuals. But the thing that seems to capture the imagination of people most is the violence, which sometimes is portrayed in the music, and the drug culture as well, which for most of Jamaicans is not really a part of their everyday life. But you cannot deny that it is part of their existence and part of the complexity of a very beautiful place that where most of the people are trying to get by. A lot of them get by going abroad to work. But I was talking with somebody outside, and we were saying that Jamaicans, the Jamaicans, even when they go abroad, they don't necessarily want to be assimilated or to assimilate into the culture. They'll become part of it, but they are very clear about why they have gone there. They have gone there for economic reasons and to better the lives of their children and for the educational support. But they want to go back home to Jamaica. Everybody talks about going back home to the Rock. And they want certainly to die there. If they die abroad, they want to be carried back home. There is a strong feeling of Jamaicanness, which I think is cemented by going abroad, by leaving Jamaica. You know.
So this is part of the culture. In, for instance, the creation of identity in Finland or Denmark, this was very much done by the help of education, because up to a certain point people didn't have this feeling that they belong someplace. Has education played any role in this understanding of self, or this identification with place and culture?
I think it has played its role because, you know, most of the population is black, having come from what they lovingly call three waves of migration, which means that these people are captured as slaves and brought to Jamaica. But it is the churches and the schools subsequently set up by churches or by grants which helped these people to learn, to read and write. And so for most Jamaicans, you'll find that this imperative of getting an education, that's something that they see as a way of going up, moving up, upward mobility within the society and nowadays within the world, because Jamaicans are very, very world-oriented. Any part of the world you go in, you'll find a Jamaican, whether working or visiting. But they see education as being important. The music is an extension sometimes of the education. Sometimes it is antisocial. But there is, in every country you have the music that is the accepted status quo, and then you have the music that is creating the revolution in there, which eventually becomes part of the status quo, and the next set of young people create their own set of things. I mean, for instance, the dancehall music is probably better known in Germany, and you know, it's interesting. Places like St. Lucia, which is another Caribbean island, they had a problem with the school kids going to school. They wouldn't come off the buses because the music that they were listening to wasn't finished. So they would be riding up and down on the buses rather than going to school. It's the Jamaican music that has infiltrated so many of these cultures. The Jamaican ideology, the Rastafarianism and so on. Some of the spirituality. We seem to be very strong at influencing world trends and people. I mean, Bob Marley, whose music, one of his songs was, the song of the decade or something like that. But I kind of forgot what I was talking about.
The question of the role of education.
Of education.
If we connect to that, who is the typical adult education student in Jamaica?
In Jamaica, I would say somebody who is a domestic worker, who has a lot of children, probably female, but has an ambition. But you see, in Jamaica, nothing is typical, because another adult education student who is perfectly typical is again probably female, a teacher, who has gone to college but wants more. And so will either pay within the Jamaican society to get more by going to one of the many colleges or universities there, or will pay an external university. There are a lot of external universities that have brought their products into Jamaica, and the Jamaicans are buying it. And a lot of it is also going the way of distance education as well now. So a lot of our money goes out towards education. And the government tries to spend a lot of money within education as well, but it isn't enough. It merely pays salaries or builds schools, and we quarrel all the time that the education isn't what it is supposed to be, but that's because we've always had a very high standard of education. And so we're not satisfied with less. And as we have more children giving more demands on money that isn't really there for it, you're going to find that there are some deficits and some things that are not good returns on investment,
Is there a strong non-formal adult education sector?
I would say so. And for instance, the group that I represent as the president now, this has been linked and partnered with what was known as Jamal. And Jamal was based on the notion of each one teach one, and has had a really formidable record in terms of taking people into literacy. And it's very interesting that just this year Jamal changed its name from Jamal, which everybody knew Jamal, but it changed its name to Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning. And in keeping not only with new trends, but also in keeping with trying to upgrade the profile, because a lot of people would not go to Jamal even though they needed to, because of the stigma that, once you went to Jamal, it meant you couldn't read and write, which it didn't really mean anymore, but that was the stigma. So they changed the name to help to, I guess, make it more marketable for people to access. But along with Jamal, there's JASE, which is Jamaica Council for Adult Education, which is more the policy end to try and help people to come into that. And as a matter of fact, we have been very concerned about the entire adult education scene, and how do you actually do something for these people who need the education. And one of the strategies that we have come up with is something that I understand is German in origin. It's called a learning city. And we promoted a seminar, I think last year, just introducing this notion of learning city. And in March, we are going to put on a major symposium based on the notion of learning city. We're looking at Portmore and Kingston. Portmore is almost like a twin city. It's not actually called a city, but it is equal in unrivaling the size of Kingston. And a lot of people who are lowest income live out there. Lots and lots and lots of people. And within Kingston, that's where all the people from the country migrate to Kingston to try and seek working opportunities. And as they find them or not, they become sort of ghettoized, because they don't want to go back to the country where they probably have some land and so on, but they don't want to go back as failures. So they come there. And what we are thinking in terms of the learning city is that every place within the city is really a place where learning is possible. You don't look like you've ever been to a barber shop, but if you've ever been to a barber shop, I go to a barber shop, you recognize the amount of education or miseducation that takes place within a barber shop, within the beauty salon. A gallery or museum is a place thing there. Just places where people meet. These all provide opportunities for non-formal education to take place. And we are thinking that we can tap these sources to help people to open themselves to more detailed thinking. Because, another conversation I was having today with somebody is that everybody knows something. Everybody comes to the table with something. If you have learned to speak a language, you're already an accomplished learner. So now you just need to focus on something that you want to know or you need to know. The motivation, extrinsic, intrinsic. That's basically it. Everybody is a potential learner, and everybody is a learner already. You know how to do this thing. So you just need additional skills in perhaps places that are non-threatening. So we see the learning city environment as a non-threatening environment, because you're already in the city, you're already operating in the city, you already know how to do things. And in fact, non-readers have, developed fantastic skills to really operate in a society that isn't geared towards them, and yet retain the semblance of being readers. Because a lot of them, nobody knows they can't read, because they have gathered so many skills and devices to protect themselves. Now, these are smart people, and clearly, whatever it is that we have to learn is not something that is so way out and inaccessible that they cannot learn it if they feel safe and non-threatened. So it's things like that. So even when I was talking in there about the notion of trying to maybe redirect the energies of these repatriated Jamaicans, who some people feel are responsible for a lot of the upsurge in crime, I don't think it's so way out, and I don't think it's so undoable. Because if they could see themselves having a stake in the society, where they could earn a living, and where they could come to care for the society, because that's part of the education process, Part of the education process is to help you to identify with the strengths and the good of the society, so that you want to make it better, you want to make a place for yourself in it. And these are things that education is supposed to teach people, and you use a cultural context. So basically, if you could tap the energy of these people, because there's a lot of energy to be bad, and to be successfully bad, you're using a lot of skill, a lot of energy that could be put towards creating a stronger, more vibrant society. So,
would you say that these are the biggest, or among the biggest challenges, to create spaces which are non-threatening, so that people with very bad school experiences dare to take the leap, and to tap the resources, the knowledge which people have who are currently not at all involved in society, but are using it for their own purposes?
I would say yes, because even, for instance, one of the things that the JFLL, which was Jamal, and the government is looking at now, is trying to do, I think they call it the GED in America, but this is to give this diploma to the students who didn't make it to diploma level in school, who have left school. Some of them have had babies, and some of the boys just are sitting on street corners, to bring them back into a setting and help them to get the GED, so that they call it the high step, I think, so that they can move on. They do need these accepting, non-judgmental, non-threatening spaces where they can come in, or people go out to them and really learn. And I think the technology needs to be used more, because the media is an extremely powerful force, as a result of which you'd believe that all Jamaica is bad if you take up your newspaper every morning. Because if 40 of us have done a good thing, it's the 41st who has done a bad thing who is highlighted, and maybe we also need to turn that around as well. Look at the exemplars that are doing the good within the society and creating better energy, as against those who are just out there,
Destructive.
Destructive. Yeah. Yes.